Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk a little bit further, if you'll pardon me. I wanted to give one more little talk about my friend, Little Panda. Now, I made a recording that I put on here. I made that recording 10 minutes after he died, and so I was very upset, understandably. And I didn't really talk too much or into too much detail about my relationship with Little Panda. Because I have to tell you something. I have had in my life 4 dogs, 3 cats, relationships with these dogs. None of them lived to old age with me, unfortunately. Same with the cats, unfortunately. But the second dog and the third cat were the closest to me. But I must tell you that this relationship, this unique relationship with Little Panda, who's a guinea pig, was the most incredible, fascinating, and in many respects emotional relationship I've ever had with an animal. Now, I was introduced to Little Panda 2 years ago. His owner, my friend Ian, wanted me to take a look at Little Panda and also asked if I would look after him and stuff like that. And so the end result is, since Ian had to travel an awful lot, Little Panda would spend most of his time with me. And we'd spend time together, well over a month together, and then he'd go back for a while, and then he'd come back and spend time with me. And we did this on, and we had a wonderful time together. Little Panda, when I first met him, was a guinea pig that really had very little interest in much of anything. He did not want to leave his cage. He liked to eat. And that was about it. And I think that Ian was kind of tired because he didn't seem to want to do anything. And so Ian told me, he said, well, he will not get out of his cage. Well, I went over and sat and talked with him. Brought a goodie with me, of course. And we sat and chatted for a while. He listened to me. He looked at me like, who are you? And I gave him some carrot. And I rubbed his head and talked nice to him. The next time I met with him, he was at the door of his cage, and I gave him the carrot. I rubbed his head and I talked to him. The third time we met, I was down on the floor in front of his cage, and he was at his door, and he was all lit up and kind of excited. And I had my carrot, and he jumped right out of the cage. The first time he had ever done that. And the incredible thing was this, that at this point, Panda discovered something brand new, that there was this whole world outside of his cage. And so he would wander around and make noise and make his little happy sounds. And he would always come back, and we'd sit down, and I would give him a little treat or whatever, or he'd rest himself on my arm and just sit there, and we'd hang out. It was an interesting thing, and it was a fascinating thing. As I said, I've had dogs, I've had cats, but I never had this interesting, warm relationship that I was having with Little Panda. It was like we kind of understood each other. Because the interesting thing was, as Little Panda became more bold and more interested in coming out and being outside with me, it was wonderful for me because I was not happy. I was kind of upset about a lot of stuff. And we kind of helped each other. And it was like we were talking in a sense. It's hard to explain this. I know it might sound bizarre and weird to people. But we were this odd couple that kind of fell in love. It's the only way to describe it. And so we had a grand old time. He would hang out with me when he was at my house. Breakfast time, we used to have a whole routine. I used to set up a dish for him in the kitchen, and I'd open it up and I said, "Are you hungry? Are you ready?" And he would say, "Yes, I am." And he would run right out of his cage and run all the way over to where that plate was and then sit there and munch. And then when he got done with that, I would be sitting there eating my breakfast. And so he would come over and he'd sit on my shoe or my slipper that I was wearing. And he'd come and he'd rub against my leg and look up at me all the time. And I would wave, I'd rub his head. And then he would wander around a little bit and then come back. And in time, we'd go back to his cage and he would go in there and hang out. And I would get him some fresh straw and whatever. And I'd spend a lot of time with him. And we developed this wonderfully warm relationship that helped both of us. And I always was excited to see Little Panda, and Little Panda seemed to be always excited to see me. And that's the way our relationship worked. And we had so much fun together. I filmed some stuff. I guess I'll put some stuff on eventually of us playing together. We did all kinds of fun little games. And I didn't realize it, that Panda was getting sick. Panda was getting old. Panda was pushing 8 years of age. That's old for a guinea pig. He was lively and fun, but when it came to January of 2019, he was with me for a month, thereabouts, and he got really sick. He wouldn't eat. He got diarrhea for a while. That stopped. And he wouldn't drink. And so I lifted up his hidey, which is the little igloo that he would hide in, and I just sat there and rubbed his head and talked to him, and I said, "I'm not going to let you die." And he got better. But he wasn't, Little Panda from before. And so he went back to Ian for a little while, just the end of last month. He left me and went there for a little while. And he had the same thing again. And he didn't have the strength. And there was nobody there with him to really talk to him. And I didn't know it. And then Ian called me and said he's very sick. And I said, "Yeah, just rub him, talk to him." And of course, they had to go to bed. And then that morning he got up there and Panda was dying. And then Panda did expire. And he called me. And that's when I made the film. Pardon me for getting a little upset. But I must tell you, and I want to be honest about this, that the bond that we created was incredible. And that I learned a lot from Little Panda. And Little Panda learned a lot from me. And we were brothers. And that was a week ago. I will tell you, I will forever miss him. He was a good friend. That's about all I can say without sitting here and becoming a blubbering fool. But I wanted to express and explain Little Panda. And I wanted to give a tribute to my friend. He was a noble, kind being, and he made me a better person. I love you, Little Panda.